Let's see. What's up, everybody? We'll give this a quick second to make sure audio's coming through. Art House Live number 11. I'm always paranoid that my audio settings are messed up, so I wait till the actual YouTube stream starts to kick through. And then we'll know we're good. There we go. It's looking good. It's looking good. Welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday, December 11th already. Get your holiday shopping done. Get your holiday shopping done. Yeah, it's going to be here. It's already here before I knew it. And I don't have a whole lot of gifts to buy this year, but I think I know what I'm buying. I think I know what stores I need to go to, but that's tomorrow's mission. I'm putting all that stress on tomorrow. Go to the post office, ship those bad boys out. But folks, we got Matt Slay joining us this evening. Welcome, Matt. Round of applause.
What's up? Hey, I would clap profusely, but I am working tonight.
The splattering ink all over the place.
All over the place. It's getting weird in here.
We might have. I do believe James will be joining us at some point. We were going to compare notes. We were at two different conventions this weekend, so I'm curious to see how he was at Steel City, Pittsburgh. Have you ever been to Steel City?
Me? No, I've done Pittsburgh, a couple of things in Pittsburgh, but not Steel City, and I've got to admit I'm curious about it.
Yeah.
Because the last two times I was in Pittsburgh, it was unfortunate circumstances, but there are some shops and some flavors around there that I absolutely fell in love with. So while I don't love driving in the city,
right,
I absolutely love the comic book community. That, I mean, it's Pittsburgh, man. There's no denying.
They do have a tight community there. Speaking of James and his adventures to Pittsburgh, we got James in the back row. Let's bring him out. What's up, James? What's good, man?
What's going on, guys?
How's it going, James?
It's going. Another day in paradise.
Yeah. Did you get all your holiday shopping?
There you go.
Are you still running around going crazy?
No. Definitely
still
not.
On a mission.
Yep, still on a mission. It'll be 2 days before, and I'll still be looking for something.
Yeah, that was. I tend to be the guy that I want it all done and taken care of well ahead of time if I can.
Yeah.
There was one fateful Christmas where my buddy calls me up. He's like, dude, I got a problem. Me and my wife, he's like, we set a budget. We weren't supposed to go over the budget.
Yeah.
Oops.
And he's like, but I found this thing for her. And I convinced her to raise the budget $50. And now she's bragging that she's got this awesome gift for me. She wasn't going to get it because of the budget. But now she's like, I've got the perfect thing for you, blah, blah, blah. Well, he's calling me Christmas Eve panicking because the store that normally carries it, I forget, it might have been AirPods, but that would have been more than $50. At any rate, he's panicking because they're sold out. In fact, it was AirPods, so it must have been more than $50. So
yeah,
the whole reason I do my shopping ahead of time is so I don't have to run around crazy Christmas Eve or on Black Friday.
Right.
In the traffic, and there I was with him. Like something out of Jingle All the Way or something like that. Just buzzing around.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yes, Turbo Man.
And that was back when you actually go to a shopping mall to buy Christmas gifts. That was how it was. It was a little crazy. But yeah, James, we were actually just talking. I don't know if you heard us while you're in the back room. So I was at GalaxyCon Columbus this weekend. And you were at Steel City, Pittsburgh, and I am very interested to see how your Pittsburgh adventure went because Steel City does what, 3 shows a year?
Yes, yeah, they have a spring, late summer, and winter one. So this is my second time. So I did their late fall, or their actually early. I think it was early fall. I did their early fall one, and then I did this one this past weekend.
So did you do like well enough early fall that you're like, I'm definitely on board. We're doing this again.
So no, not really. Yes. So so I kind of have the benefit, right? So we've talked about it before. I kind of have the benefit of I kind of piggyback off of my wife.
Yeah.
So what we did was we added a table for her to have to offset kind of like cost wise,
Right.
So we were like, we'll experiment, we'll see how you do versus, me, and kind of figure out where that lines up and whether it's worth, me attending or just you attending or whatever.
And this is Artist Alley table?
Yes. It's
Okay.
Artist Alley table. Yeah, I mean, so she did well. She did phenomenal. She sold out of a whole bunch of stuff.
That's good.
Yeah, so that was great for her. She was like worried she wasn't gonna have enough for the whole weekend because like Friday came, because it's the thing I hate about it, but the thing I guess kind of worked for her is that it's a 3-day show, but Friday isn't a half-day show; it is a full-day show. Goes from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m.
So you're talking about while kids are still in school and parents are still working.
Yeah.
That's a long. Okay.
Yes, and they were absolutely mandated that you have to be set up Thursday night. So I mean, think of that. That's an entire another day you have to spend in a hotel, right? So that increases the cost a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Fridays suck. Fridays are awful. I mean, there aren't many shows where Fridays are like, wow, you know what I mean? But yeah, Fridays are awful.
Every now and then you get one, but yeah, especially during this time of year, like you said, with people still at work and kids in school, like that's Fridays are always a bit slower this time of year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So but for me, yeah, I did enough that I did more than break even, so that was good. But that was because, right, I had her to offset that cost. If I had not had her to offset that cost and it was just me with one little art sale table, I would have broken even. Yeah, so it would have been bad.
That's rough. Yeah. The as far as, so is that at the downtown convention center? I forget what it's called. I think it's called Pittsburgh Convention Center.
No, so this one's it's at the Monroeville Convention Center.
That's right, Monroeville.
Yeah.
Someone told me that. So you're not in Pittsburgh proper. You're 20 minutes, 30 minutes off from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Which, Matt, to your point, that area is a little bit nicer to drive through than the main city is.
Yeah.
It's not quite as jam packed and crazy and whatever else not. So.
Oh no, I'm not talking about traffic. I'm talking about the suspension of the car.
Ah, nice.
That too.
That's funny.
Yeah. I want to say I've been out there a couple times for shows, and one was Three Rivers, which they admit it's a smaller 2-day show, and it's not bad.
Yeah.
And it's a smaller. It's run by, I believe it's run by Three Rivers comic shop. And I think the only reason I'm not doing it again next year is just because of schedule conflict. But it's a smaller show. It's not as busy.
Yeah.
Even I think it's like a Saturday, Sunday thing. And because when they do it in the summer, I think it was in the summer, there's always other events going on. Like they had their Pride event was going on. I think there was some other beer fest that was going on. A lot of outside things to do that a lot of people are like, we're not gonna go down into the the depths of some conventions because we were in the bottom floor. I don't know if there's a top floor, but yeah. The Steel City. So overall, was it a pretty good crowd there? Was it busy or?
For what the attendance was pretty good, and yeah, there were points in time where it was jam packed. So I would say overall, they do a good job drawing a crowd. But yeah, it's I mean, overall, if you're going as an attendee, I think it's probably a pretty nice show, minus wait times for celebrities and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting crowd, I will say. A very interesting crowd of
interesting. How so? Interesting
in the people that are there, the crowds that are there, the vendors that are there. It's definitely becoming less and less of of a comic con and more of a like fan expo
Like celebrity kind of deal.
convention. Yeah, right. And I don't know if that was their intention. If that is their intention, probably is. I think we've talked about it a couple of times. It seems to be the way a lot of these shows are going, because your celebrities do draw the biggest crowds,
Right.
But yeah, there was two artist guests there, and they were announced a week and a half, 2 weeks before the show started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember who they were?
It was Jerry. Oh no, Jerry something. He's a Marvel artist. And the other one was the producer director of Scooby and some of those older cartoons.
Gotcha.
But
yeah, I couldn't tell you. I know that they do a pretty good job of getting like a wide array of different celebrities. I know the first year I was really trying to get in.
Yeah,
they had Corey Taylor of Slipknot fame was going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I was very bummed I missed out on that one.
Yeah, they had the lead from Ice Nine Kills, or so, I think it's the band's name.
Yeah, Spencer.
Yeah,
Spencer.
Yeah, he was there. They had Matthew Lillard, who I went and saw. His Matthew Lillard's line was just nonstop.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, and like the thing is, he's so popular with the horror crowd, especially because of the Scream franchise. But like for me as a film buff, like if I had the chance to meet him, I would straight up just say thank you for SLC Punk. It's one of the 7 movies that made me cry.
That's like one of his favorite movies he filmed, according to him. When I was watching some of his older convention panels, that's what he was talking about. His favorite, one of his favorite.
That movie was very important to me growing up. I was born at a time at the tail end of the punk movement, and I remember a lot of parties and rooms and concerts, reminiscent to what you saw in that movie. And it's one of those weird things where it's like, I was there, man, but young enough that not really.
Yeah, I feel you. But yeah, they had a lot of horror. There was a few horror guests. There was who was it? Another big one. They had wow.
Memorable.
I'm awful with names. It's so bad. Especially when it comes to celebrities. I mean, you just kind of saw the list of people. Yeah. The cast of Lisa Frankenstein was there. I don't remember the actors' names.
The challenge I've got is that I really don't watch that much stuff. So, I mean, just about anybody could walk up to my booth and be like, "Oh yeah, I was in such and such." I'm like, "That's amazing. Welcome to my table. Great to meet you."
Yeah, there were some of them that I'm like, I didn't even realize that I knew. I was like, oh, that's cool. They were in that. Oh, that's neat. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was a very different, very interesting crowd of and selection of celebrities, I will say.
Yeah.
Which again, I think it makes for a good show if you're an attendee, for sure.
Yeah.
As an artist, it's tough because people are going to go, they're going to spend all this money, and this is kind of the issue with all the fan expos style shows and stuff. People are going to go, they're going to spend money. They might buy some prints to get signed from individual artists here and there, if that's exactly what they're looking for. But they know that they're going to drop, $1,000 or whatever on signatures and photo ops and pictures and stuff like that. That they'll look at your table and they'll be like, that's really cool, but I'm not going to have enough money after such and such. Oh, that's really cool, but I'm broke. That's really cool, but I don't have any money.
No.
And so the show itself wasn't charging a ton of people for people to come in. I didn't think the price was that bad. I think it was like $50. It's $50 for early for the whole weekend. $70 VIP if you're at the door.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I think it was like $35 a day, depending on which day you go.
Right.
So yeah, it was primarily the bulk of celebrities, and plus the economy we're in right now too. Right, doesn't help. But
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of talk about that here for a minute, but real quick, for those of you that are hanging on the chat, say hello, let us know you're here, and then also hit that like button, please. Helps us out. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I was asked I was doing a panel at Cincinnati a couple years ago, and there was a gentleman who is a friend of mine who has no shame in asking hard-hitting questions at a panel.
Nice.
Mind you, we're doing a sketch duel, right?
Yeah.
So we've got half an hour to draw a thing and then answer questions from the audience. And he raises his hand and says, "Hey, I've got a buddy that's a really good artist, but he refuses to do conventions because he says that celebrities suck all the money out of the room. What do you guys have to say to that?"
they definitely do. They
And
definitely do.
in the middle of
I would
So
like to sit down with that buddy and examine his business model a little bit, because there are ways in, through, and around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just imagine there's the four of us sitting up there that have been answering questions like, how long have you been drawing? What's your favorite thing to draw? If you could draw anything right now, what would you draw? Like,
Who's your favorite Wolverine, and why is it Wolverine?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Getting hit with all the softball questions, right? Which is fine.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it, especially the sketch duels. They're fun.
Yeah.
But I had my answer to that question, but I think I had a little bit of an eye-opening moment this weekend myself. Is that my theory is that if you're going to be successful an artist at these kind of shows, you have to be a spectacle. You have to have a reason for people to stop at your booth. There are some people that can pull that off in Artist Alley. Most artists aren't going to crush it there.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. You're going to have a couple that, between the hot spots, call it the heat map of people walking through the Artist Alley, they're going to get a ton of traffic, ton of eyes on their stuff. And if they have the right stuff, it's going to hit. But I feel like that was my decision early on, was I have to get into a vendor booth. I have to get into a bigger booth because that bottleneck that happens at Artist Alley is rough.
Yeah.
The second bit being is that GalaxyCon, I believe, where I was at for Columbus, I believe, I could be wrong here, Artist Alley tables, 6-foot tables, were going for $400.
Yeah.
$400.
And that's just your basic.
Well,
I was looking at the
that's,
prices. Yeah, they're outrageous.
Well,
so here is where the guy who says they suck all the money out of the room is wrong, but also right.
Yeah.
Normally, when we hear that turn of phrase, and we've all heard it plenty of times, there's a little bit of, well, fans don't have any money to spend on the art because they've spent hundreds of dollars on waiting in line to watch somebody write their name, which I'll never understand. I don't charge for autographs, and I mean, I know why the comic industry has turned to it, but I just won't be a part of it. That's the general thinking, is that, you know, celebrity autographs have sucked all the money out of the room. That's not always the case. A lot of the money being sucked into the room out of creators' pockets come from what promoters and owners have to shell out to get celebrities in the room in the first place. That is appearance fees, airplane tickets, hotels, blah, 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 my entourage. Hey, I'd love to have you at my show. Cool. Fly my entire family into town. You know, that's a thing. So that's where a lot of the money goes that a lot of folks don't consider, because it's not a part of the equation that the average artist is a part of. You know, all you see is the table fee, and then it's, you get there, you've paid your table fee, and it's, well, nobody's buying anything because they blew it all on celebrities. Maybe, maybe not.
Right.
What I see now is as many creators, professional or otherwise, charging the very same thing that the celebrities are. And guess who is not going to buy it because you're not famous enough? It's not like the money's going to show up because you raised your prices.
Right.
And this is what Steve's talking about. This is where the spectacle comes in. Why should people come see you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why should they?
Yep. It's when you're an artist in Artist Alley, it's not the people running the show's job to get people to your table. It's
Yeah.
their job to get people to come into the door, right?
It's your
And
job
then
to get
look
the
around.
people to your table, you know?
Yep.
Right. It's your job to figure out what's drawing people to me. Just sitting there, twiddling your thumbs and, having a table with a couple of cubes on it really isn't going to do much for you.
Right.
Unless you have an extremely unique product or something is interesting about what you're doing at your table. Right.
Right.
So, yeah, no, exactly. And that's the reason. So, like, usually I do the metal prints, right? I tried switching a little bit how I do my table at this one because I was like, let's do some experimentation with how I'm doing things. And so like this show, I experimented a little bit. I did a comic rack on my table. And I had my art books, some comics I had, obviously comic blanks I had drawn on and stuff. And the one problem I had is I wasn't allowed to put things in the alleyway.
Yeah.
Usually I have enough space. Usually it's a, you get a 6 by or 8 by 6 or it's like an 8 by 8 space or 8 by 6 space or whatever. You have at least a little bit of room. You can kind of like adjust your table a little bit if you need to. So you can adjust
Well,
things.
the one guy you don't want to piss off is the fire marshal. So I would stay out of the aisle.
Right. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So usually I pull my table back a little bit so I have room for my spinner rack in front of it. So I used to do spinner racks on each side of my table, but because they take up so much space, I've switched to doing that. It seems to work pretty good at most of the shows I've done it at. But I wasn't able to do it this show because not only did I not have any space behind the table, I kid you not, I was getting cramps all weekend, just trying to get in and out of my booth when I had to go to the bathroom or just to stretch my legs or whatever, because, well, there's two things that happened. I think somebody didn't line up the tables correctly. I think I was at the butt end of where like things were kind of getting squished together a little bit. And then we had people behind me who decided that they needed to have things sticking out of their table 5 feet. So I had no room behind me, and they wanted me to move forward more. I'm like,
ain't nowhere to go.
Buddy, I got 1.5 feet, and my ass is about 2.5 feet. So, you know what I mean? Like, dude, I'm not a small dude, right? So it was difficult getting in and out of my booth, especially with my banner behind me and stuff. So yeah, anyways, I didn't have much room to do my usual setup, which I was not prepared for. So that was my fault. So that I think definitely hurt me. But what I usually like to do is I have as many metal prints and as much lights on my metal prints as I possibly can have to bring people to be like, oh wow, that's shiny. I like it. It's pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
people like shiny stuff.
Yes. So and that
it's so simple.
Yeah,
it is so simple. Hollow foil.
Well.
Hollow foil is proof. It usually makes a picture look worse, but it's shiny.
It's like Todd McFarlane said, kids love chains.
Yeah, dude. It looks cool.
That's
right.
it.
That's all it's got to look cool.
Uh,
So yeah, usually, right, even if they don't have the cash to spend on that, they'll at least be like, okay, well, I like your art. I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, I see all these characters I really like. And then they buy at least a print, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really have that this show. There wasn't as much shiny stuff on my table. I was thinking about switching it up by Sunday, but it was kind of like one of those things where I was like, I'll chat with some people and connect with people. Well, I can. So that definitely hurt me a little bit between that and the amount of space you have in your booth. Yeah. I definitely am thinking that if I can be in the bigger area, the bigger space as a vendor instead of being an artist alley, it might help quite a little bit.
At least with certain shows.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I got a buddy of mine who I will have him remain nameless for this portion of this conversation, just because I don't want to let out the secrets. But pretty much, if he most shows he does vendor tables, but there's some shows that he does artist alley.
Yeah.
If he's doing artist alley at that show, I will do artist alley at that show. And
it's probably a good way to look at it.
Yeah, because it's like, if you think about it this way, when you first walk in for most conventions, the first thing that you're going to see is vendor booths. They're typically going to be run by businesses that have more money, that have more professional looking stuff. And then by the time you get to artist alley, it's usually in the back. It's usually an afterthought They're usually trying to cram as many people as they can into that space.
Mm-hmm.
And per square foot, I mean, they're not trying to get exactly what they're getting for vendors, but it's pretty close, right? Because if you can fit 3 artists in a space that you would fit 1 10 by 10, it's pretty close to what you'd be spending.
Right.
But the problem is, by the time most people get down there, they've seen a lot of really good quality booths, and now they're seeing there could be people it's their very first show ever. I know the first time that I did a convention, my display did not look good. And it tends at some places to look more like a flea market. I'm not trying to throw shade. It's the nature of the beast. I've been there too. You got to work your way up. But for me, it's like, I feel like most shows, if you can afford to get into either one of those premier artist tables, like Fan Expo does, or even GalaxyCon does those, it's worth a few $100 extra because people are actually going to see you.
Yeah.
You're going to be in foot traffic areas. You're actually going to have space. But it's that extra investment.
Right.
How much, if you remember, how much was Steel City charging for an artist alley?
So it was $320 each. I think that was the early price per table. So, or actually, was it less than that? Might have been a little less. Might have been a little less than that.
A little around 300.
Yeah, it was around 300 per table.
And do you remember how much it was for a vendor table, like a 10 by 10?
That I do not remember. No.
So I was gonna say, if you're already getting 2 tables.
Yeah. I think the issue with Steel City is like you have to kind of work your way up to that. Like you get in where you can to the show because it's difficult to get into. Basically, you have to wait till somebody says like, "Oh, hey, we have a last minute table. Somebody canceled," and then you're in, right? Once that
I've been on that
cancels,
wait list email for quite a while.
Once somebody cancels and you're in, that person's out and you're in.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's one of those things. And then at the end of the show, you gotta ask to get a bigger.
So it's really about who you can get away with sabotaging, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to be in and out all night. I've got ink. I'm working in graphic white, so I'm going to be in and out washing all night.
Do your thing, man. That was I got the waitlist email. I think it was either Thursday night or even possibly even Friday that they had like a 6-table booth come open, like vendors, and it was like a $2,800. I'm like, 6 tables. Yeah, I don't know that I could fill. I've got a lot of stuff. I don't know that I could fill 6 tables worth of stuff.
Yeah, geez, man.
Yeah, call that. I mean, if they're 8-foot tables because they're vendor spots, that's almost 50 feet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if that was the tattoo guy had like 12 tables. I was wondering.
Really?
I'm wondering if that's the tables they were talking about.
Possibly, man.
It was literally just an open area, and like this tattoo guy had like completely free range of this whole entire area. It was crazy. It was like
that might have been it. I don't know who canceled, but I knew that, like what you were saying last week, that there was that snowstorm coming through.
Yeah,
it was going to affect part of the country. I'm wondering if maybe some people canceled last minute.
Yeah, I drove through part of that storm. It was rough. At least
nice.
I drove through Erie, Pennsylvania. So we originally were gonna go directly south and then west to get to Monroeville. But then like we kept hitting snowstorm after snowstorm. Like we might as well just drive the thruway. The thruway probably would be even better than this. So we redirected. So it was like an extra half hour, 45 minutes to get there. We redirected to get on the thruway. But yeah, they weren't kidding about Erie, Pennsylvania. Erie was bad.
Dude.
Erie was bad.
Dude, whenever I worked for the company prior and I would be up in Erie, the rule of thumb was if you saw any amount of snowflakes, you'd go home. Because as soon as you see it, it's almost too late.
Yep.
I had a sales rep up there. We were trying to get some last minute stuff, and I kept telling her, I'm like, we got to go. She's like, there's one more door I got to knock on. We're supposed to. I'm like, okay. And sure enough, by the last one, we're already like in between stops having to like brush snow off the windshield.
Oof.
There's just that much snow coming down. I'm like,
Yeah.
we have to go.
Yeah, if I was in my little car, that would have been a big issue. Thankfully, we drove in the SUV,
Yeah.
and the drive wasn't that bad. It was just visibility was just awful. It was just awful. So yeah, it took us a little extra to get there, but we got there safe and sound.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So all in all, are you signing up for the April show?
Yes, but also no. If I can't get out into the outer space,
What?
yeah, right. So I'm already signed up for the next show.
Yeah.
But if I can't get into the outer space, the bigger area where like the vendors and stuff are, if something doesn't open up or they get back to me and they're like, oh, we can't do that, then it'll just be Chrissy.
Yeah.
And I'll just be there to help her.
That artist alley reminds me a lot of the Grand Rapids artist alley. It's a very tight quarters. You're really jam-packed in there.
Yeah.
And I would say Grand Rapids still has more room than Steel City does, from what I've seen. I could be wrong.
Yeah, yikes.
That being said, I've had a couple shows early on with Grand Rapids where I did really well in their alley just because of placement.
That's nice.
But also, like, I invested in those having the taller banners early on so people could see me from ways away.
Yeah.
But it seems like now everybody's starting to get them.
Yeah.
It's like the trends are catching up. But
yeah. Well, I mean, the taller you go, the more you can fit on your wall, right?
exactly.
And again, it kind of comes down to if people don't see it, they don't know you have it, then they won't ask and they won't buy it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like Steel City, I think you're maxed out. We're maxed out at I think it's 10-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
Which sucks. So like I couldn't even go all the way up. I think I go 11 feet with mine, so I couldn't even go all the way up.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to explain this to another artist at a show. They were asking where I was getting my stuff from and how high up I can go and all this. And I said, listen, there's diminishing returns on the stuff on the wall. It's routinely we're selling for that impulse buy and that emotional buy.
Yeah.
And what it boils down to is people are like bamboozled the whole time they're walking through. They're just getting hit with so much information. What it boils down to is what deals do I have? And is it the characters that they want?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 are selling the bundles I have right there on the table that are already set up, ready to go. It's a great deal. Can't pass it up. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything behind you is just a billboard. It is come look at me. Put some lights up there. Well, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how GalaxyCon Columbus went. It was mostly good. I will share some of the challenges that happened there. Not much affected me, but it certainly affected some people. But first, a little palate cleanse. Matt, how's the project going? What are you working on?
I am 14 pages into Patchwork Ends Volume 2. So I am cranking that out. I'm working on that tonight. And as of 2 days ago, I'm also working. Remember the project I mentioned last time that I can't talk about?
Yes.
So that is now officially in production mode. And once I get the go-ahead, I will kind of leak a little bit and solicit that. So if you're following me on Facebook, awesome. If you're not, get that way. Because that is how I make announcements, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, there's Patchwork. Yeah, but this next book is the little secret one for now. I am not doing the art duties. I am on the writing duties. So I am officially an author, not just of my own stuff. So imagine that. So I'm really proud of it, and this is definitely a bucket list, like achievement unlocked, as in this is an artist and a creator that I have been a fan of my entire life as a fan and a reader of comics. So this is a creator that I have looked up to for many, many, many years, and by sheer chance, we are putting out a little book, and it's going good so far. I've been really enjoying it, just being a writer suddenly.
Yeah.
So the chops from Patchwork Ends are definitely being put to good use, and it is obviously still very much my main focus outside of commission work and conventions and things like that.
Nice.
But
do you find any challenges or anything with, instead of writing for yourself, now you're writing for someone else to pick up?
Oh,
and
yeah.
interpret?
Absolutely. And so
what's
there's no
the
such
most?
thing as being psychic, nobody,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. But luckily, this artist, and I am going to be super vague about it until I get express permission to stop being vague and just to start announcing things. So please forgive me, but we have rules. This is an artist who I have studied and studied and studied to the point where, no, I can't read his mind, but I have an idea of what the pages are going to look like based on the previous 30, 40 years of produced artwork and what he does on the side.
Yeah.
And from that, I can kind of gauge, all right, he likes to compose this and this and this. So I need to think about making sure word balloons and captions are no taller than this, no longer than this. We're going to learn how to condense and write a little bit more poetically. What's the
Yeah.
most I can do in the least amount of words? Because he loves a dense panel. And, once you start dropping the lettering in, you're going to cover something up, but you don't want to get so wordy that you cover up the stuff that makes it beautiful.
Right.
So now I'm having to.
Uh-oh.
We lost him.
Yeah, that was sudden. Yikes.
There he goes. Well, the powers that be said he said too much. He he said too much. The cat's out of the bag, and he's eluded. And that artist is offended about how dense the panels are. Who you calling dense?
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
I'm sure we'll get him back here once AJ gets him reconnected.
Yeah,
but yeah, Matt's doing big things, guys. If you haven't gone over to Broken Icon Comics, I just put the link in the chat. Speaking of chat, I know we got a few lurkers out there, a few folks watching. If you could say hi in the chat, hit that like button. We're going to talk a little bit about GalaxyCon Columbus. Have you done a show in Columbus, James?
I have not yet. No, I have not.
I like Columbus. Columbus is a good town. It's a fun town. Matt is back.
Hello.
Hey.
There you are.
So we are having interesting weather.
Oh.
It was all right. This is gonna be weird because I'm gonna be trying to set up my camera again.
All good. You're doing
It
great.
was 18 degrees and windy as hell, and then it was 60 degrees and raining, and now it's 32 degrees again and windy as hell. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. But as I was saying,
Yes.
the mindset for working at a writing capacity, and it may just be working with this artist. For me, it's not that different than my art brain when I'm composing pages, because I'm not just thinking about the dialogue, narration, using as little exposition as possible, because this is a show don't tell medium.
Yeah.
And this guy definitely knows how to show. So why would I stomp all over that with some dumbass words?
Right.
Not going to do that. So it really is just about anticipating composition with the lettering. You have a job to do, move the reader,
Right.
But I don't know. It's that stupid little puzzle game you had when you were a kid. There was a picture and you just move the squares around until it makes the picture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's lettering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having a blast with it, and this is but work to your question, is it different working for someone else's work? Yes and no. Yes, because I'm not a mind reader, and I'm not working necessarily from a full script on this one. This is his story, so it's his plot and his plot structure.
Yeah.
So it is a challenge to teach myself to very quickly adapt and write around his plot structure, because it is very different than the way I do my own, but that's the fun. Now it's the same in the sense that I'm writing something that can't just sound like it's written in vernacular all the time.
Right.
Where am I using, plain English, and where am I using, the Kings? Where does the Oxford comma fit in? Um, Editing and grammar do matter a
Yeah.
lot more so when it's for someone else, because every job is your audition for your next job. So I need to make sure every single thing I do on this book is hella perfect.
No. But I
If,
think that's a pitfall a lot of writers fall into early on. I know for me, when I was first writing, I stopped what I was doing and started over because I'm like, I'm trying to make all these characters sound like too tough and too cool.
yeah.
And it's coming off really stiff. What would these characters actually say if they were here in this scenario?
Yeah.
Or if they were here in this room,
Yeah. How do they talk? How do they think? Because ultimately, that's where it becomes more genuine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could definitely see that. So, guys, if you haven't picked up Patchwork Ends, like I said, the link is in the chat. Head on over there. And if you aren't following Matt Slay is on Facebook. Give him a follow. He'll be posting more updates there.
Only on Facebook. I am not on any other social medias just because I don't do that.
I'll tell you what, man. It feels like a real crapshoot. Like, I started with 0 3 years ago, coming in with Instagram. And with the amount of followers I have now, I don't have many more engagements, like people liking my stuff, than I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like I'm collecting ghosts, skeletons in my closet, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
Facebook seems a little bit more interactive. I feel like the people that like my stuff there, I actually talk to, and they actually like buy stuff from me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I started a thread today that was a legitimate question saying, okay, art collectors, when you're, what do you think of this? Because it's not just about like, let me start that sentence over because it was a weird sentence. I am always trying to figure out what to do next, as in terms of like commission opportunities and things like that. I could do the same thing I used to do every year, which is, okay, it's Inktober again. I'm going to have this many slots and I'm going to be doing this. Then Patchwork came along and I haven't done Inktober in a while. I want to be able to provide different things for different crowds.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've started getting requests for, but have not done in the past because of time, is 2-page spread, 3-page spread. You remember back in the 90s when the whole thing was your number one needs to have 14 covers and they all need to make a big puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I'm starting to get that with like, I want the whole JLA fighting all the X-Men. And now the question isn't about, okay, do I charge per person? Like, how many characters are on the page? Is this about the size? Is this about the time? I've never done big pieces like that for people, but I think I'd like to, just for the sheer fun of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll reclaim my fanboy with a piece like that. That's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But the question I put out there was like, as an art collector, knowing that art costs and knowing that wall space comes with its own premium, are you more likely to want like a 2-piece, like a 2-page spread, or like a 3-page and go bonkers with it? And it seems like it's split right down the middle, but the 3-pager people said, I want the spectacle, because if you're going that size, you go ham biscuits with it, just go all in. But the 2-pager people have a very valid point too. It's like 2 is comfortable and 3 is a nightmare to frame.
No.
Not wrong. Not wrong.
No. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, James?
No, yeah. I mean, I would love to do a piece like that, but yeah, no, those are valid points.
Yeah.
I've never done a 2-page spread.
Ever?
Well,
not even like a in a book?
Well, that's not entirely true. I did a 2-page spread, but there was 2 characters that was in one piece. But it was still very individual pieces. They just
Mhm.
the
They
pieces
could stand on their
yeah.
own if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Mm.
Gotcha.
So
You know,
Yeah.
that was actually an assignment. My first year at the Kubert School, we had one teacher first year who really seemed to understand. It's your first year at comic book school. Let's make sure the assignments are at least a lot of fun.
yeah.
And one of the design assignments was design a wraparound cover.
Oh, nice.
And what you know intrinsically, because everybody in there was coming in having already read How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way and what was it, Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. We, you know, if you read that beforehand, you thought you were ahead of the game, and it did you service.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you know everything. It just means you know what's in that book. But what you know is, well, you've got this cover, you got the front cover, and you got the back cover, and you need to think about what your focus areas are on each. Well, what they didn't tell you, and what the real sneaky bit of that assignment is, what's the focus area that actually draws the two together?
Yeah.
There's got to be a third. So sometimes you can do it with black and white contrast as a focus area. Sometimes intense color contrast is a focus area. Sometimes the two characters that are intently staring at each other, that place in the middle is the focus area.
Yeah.
Or maybe their face is framed by other parts of anatomy. Yeah, that's the part they don't tell you. But it becomes this fun challenge of, like you said, can they stand on their own, or do they have to be together just to function?
Right.
Right.
Well, and that's the challenge now. So I thought it was going to be super cool a year or so ago, and I was going to do a ton of wraparound sketch covers because everybody was just doing the front of a sketch cover, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite artists, De Jong, he routinely will do these amazing wraparound covers, and he fills up that whole comic. They always look amazing. The routine, I don't know if it was a complaint, question, or just conundrum that people had was, well, if I buy this from you, how do I display it?
Especially a wraparound. Yeah, especially a sketch cover like that.
Yeah, and knowing that with sketch covers, there's a lot of people that get them graded as art, or even with comic books, a lot of people will go get them CGC graded or, CBCS graded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do you display it? A wraparound, with the slabs, you can see both sides, but I don't know, you kind of lose the impact of that wraparound. What you're talking about, though, doing a commission where you're doing art boards, I think that
it's a little more forgiving. It's more forgiving with the framing because
they're going to show both. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to do the work. It just sounds like fun as hell.
Yeah. The
Good luck fitting it on your table, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've done some a couple times now where I've done like an 18 by 24 bristle board. And what's up, Dave? What's good, man? The 18 by 24, I was just doing single characters and really filling up the page, and that was a lot of fun. But doing multiple panels like 11 by 17 would actually be easier to work on. So,
you've got the space to screw up, but at the same time, if you leave an area blank, you've got plenty of space to fill it with another character.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most characters you're looking to put on a page?
Me?
Yeah.
I am not George Perez. Let's get that out of the way.
You're not going to do the 100 different versions of Spider-Man or whatever?
As dope as that would be, it's been done to death. Now, if somebody asks, and they, if I put the price out there and they go, okay, well then, yeah, now I work for you. Game on.
Yeah.
I honestly don't care how many characters it would be as long as the composition is sick.
No.
I want multiple focus areas that leak into each other at that point. It's not a wraparound cover, so I'm not thinking about title treatments and, corner boxes and things like that. It is a large scale piece. So the whole point is to enjoy the whole thing. So I would approach it the way, Frazetta, Keith Parkinson, all those guys approach a painting. Here is your primary focus area based on a basic shape. And you surround the basic shape with other basic shapes, and then you fill those basic shapes with more elaborate things to make sure that your composition is sturdy and can
Yeah.
stand on its own. David Finch over on his channel, he did a great video about that. It was a couple of years ago at this point. It's like how to turn basic shapes into legitimate composition, panel
Yeah.
composition. I see no
Start.
reason not to blow that up on a much larger scale. So how many characters
Yeah.
would I use? Well, I definitely want to zoom the camera in on 2 or 3 guys beating the hell out of each other, and then like have other people flying around in the background, someone shooting the laser all the way to the other side, connecting with that one over here. And
Yeah.
somebody like Nightcrawler, a great way to include narrative is he's half in and out of his little explosion, punching somebody, but you see the
Yeah.
trail of his explosion here and here and here,
Bamfing.
and it keeps your eye moving around, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I think probably the most intense one I did. There were 2 that I could think of off the top of my head. And both were 11x17 done in like landscape style.
Yeah.
One was someone wanted their D&D party drawn. And
Oh,
I
I've
think
done that.
I think it was like 5 characters maybe. So I was able to get a good, call it like thigh up sort of shot of each of them in there.
Yeah.
And then the other one was, it was a really cool commission. I actually, so this gal, she got this for her dad for a birthday gift, I think, or maybe it was a Christmas gift. But he had this photo done. It was an impromptu photo. He's I don't know if he's a college football coach or a high school football coach, but it was one of those low angle shots looking up, and he's kind of looking off in the distance, and his team's running past him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just an epic shot. And
Nice.
so that probably had like 7 or 8 people in it. But I think, yeah, once you start getting into like that dual art boards or even doing 3 art boards,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you got to have your primary focus, but you could do a lot with that background.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that background and all that other stuff is where the storytelling is going to be. It can't just be about 2 large figures punching each other. It could be if it's one piece. I'm not
Yeah.
going to argue with a Mike Zeck cover. Nope. But,
Yeah.
you know, if you've got that many people going at it, use the space and fill it with people, because that's all the narrative you're going to get, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
unless you find a way to use your background, your setting as part of that narrative.
Right. Right.
I love doing the D&D stuff for people. When someone says, I want to do I want to commission my whole squad and then make prints for the party for Christmas or something like that. I love doing that.
That's fun, man. That was one of my best clients early on, was dude named Caleb. I'd see him around like Ohio and Indy, that sort of market, from like Columbus down that way. And every time I'd see him, he'd get like 3 or 4 commissions done in a weekend, and it'd all be like D&D stuff that he came up with. And some really cool stuff. He would actually design them. There's like a little 8-bit character creator where you can make like little 8-bit models of your people, like deck them out however you want. And that's all he would show me and be like, do your thing, man. And it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
A lot of fun.
That's cool.
But all right, let's get into GalaxyCon Columbus. I'm going to try to do a little screen share here. GalaxyCon Columbus it's only their 3rd year doing it.
Oh, wow.
And their first year, just to give you an idea, first year was rough. It was really rough. It was actually pretty busy for a first year show. It was just one of those deals where everybody coming in was more or less like, yeah, we just found out about this, but it's too close to the holidays. We're just here to walk around.
Nice.
Oh my God, it was terrible, man. Second year, last year, was pretty solid. It was a good time. Let's do entire screen here.
We're going to blow our holiday money on 80% off toasters.
It was last year was pretty solid. They were definitely growing it. Third year, just as someone said that they condensed the exhibitor area. I don't know if they had less exhibitors, but the overall layout was, I think, fairly nice. The only thing that I really push for is that if you look at Okay, you can't see my mouse. This aisle right here was pretty slow. Actually, no, I'm looking the wrong way. This way, going down this way. The next aisle over is between the Premier Artist Alley booth, which is what I have, and Artist Alley. There is a natural lane of traffic that always happens there. I always try to get the aisle facing Artist Alley for that reason. And I just can't seem to get it. Just can't seem to get it. So that was a little, I don't know, it's a little disheartening because there are certain points where like the traffic would be pretty slow in my aisle. And I go pop my head out over here and look down towards where this little Columbus Eats sign is down this way. And there'd just be this giant stream of traffic. Like, cool. Maybe next year.
Yeah. Yikes.
So I put that request in. That's been my only, and I get it. Like they have, you get priority. Like if you re-up for next year, you can keep your spot. So I can't necessarily like force my way in there. But by golly, just rotating 90 degrees, I feel like would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
All that to say, I think it was a pretty good weekend. This was one of those shows where foot traffic was huge, but there was a lot of window shoppers. A lot of window shoppers. Close to the holidays. You hear some of the stuff. I already spent a lot of money or don't have any. All the usual things that you hear. But I think what I'm learning, the more I talk to people and the more that's going on, is number one is the different deals that I've got going on. So I've got horror prints, I've got some pinup stuff, and I've got the turtles has always been a hot item. Is that I need to break into one or two more audiences that I'm not currently serving.
Like who?
So the next big one that I'm going to do, I don't know if I'm going to do it as a set of prints or if I'm just going to do one big print like down here, is the next big one's going to be Power Rangers.
Okay.
That's huge. Power Rangers are huge.
I didn't realize how big they are. Dave, I'm not sure what your question is, man. Is that con closer to Steve? The Columbus and Pittsburgh are about the same distance.
Yeah,
I'm not
same,
sure if that's
same
the
for me,
question.
actually. Yeah, same for me.
Columbus is technically a little farther, but I got to stay with my sister. She's got a house down there, her and her husband. So get to stay with them, save a little money, get to see them hang out. So, Power Rangers, I believe, is going to be one more that I do. And then I think the next thing I got to do is down here, you see I've got the Berserk print. I got to finish this Berserk set. I'm actually working on that as we speak. I sell so much Berserk stuff. It's silly.
Is that the manga?
Never seen it, never read it, but I'm working on a few more sketches for that.
Well, I mean, if you still haven't seen Alien, come on.
I think I've got that picture in the slide deck. I actually got to do a really cool commission. I'll bring that up here in a second. But yeah, up here, up top, I've got Zod facing off with Guts. I've got Guts in the wolf armor. I think those is called. Maybe it's the Berserk armor. I don't know. I need to do like 3 more pieces and have that just as a set ready to go. Because I've noticed that like what's on your table is what you're gonna sell the most of. So I gotta tidy up some of this. At any rate, I'm really digging these uprights. These pipe and drape uprights. They're so nice. This can actually go up like another foot or 2.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't quite have the cojones to do that quite yet. But there we got the comic rack. I've added these cards at the bottom, and I've noticed a lot more people taking a look at these to see what the books are and all that good stuff. I think that's actually helped a lot with sales.
Oh, nice.
Just printed out little 5x7s, put those at the bottom. So now when people come over, they take a look. I want a different way to display sketch covers. I feel like this white box, like it serves a purpose, but unless you, and most sketch cover collectors know what they're looking at here.
Yeah.
I need a better way to display these. So I'm thinking about doing a floor to call it chest level book rack. so I can put out more of these and then moving the table down. But I don't know. It's that whole marketing science, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, what can you fit in your car?
Yeah. Well, and that's
Yeah.
the thing is I've got a little bit more room in the van that I can get away with putting some stuff in there.
That's good.
It's just a matter of what's worth, what to be more succinct, kind of like how Matt's trying to be more succinct with words on those books that he was writing for. Be the most efficient with that space as possible.
Yeah.
So I feel like I feel like my backdrop is as good as it's going to get for a while. It's pretty damn good. I just need to get this part figured out here. On the
It's
table.
funny. As soon as the writing gig popped up, I saw a meme where a guy posted, and this is kind of like condensing the space in your car to get things packed for a show.
Mhm.
It said, I feel like 85% of editing is just learning how to shorten your sentences.
Yeah.
And then the first reply down here was some professor that just said 85% of editing is shortening sentences.
There, just like that.
There it is.
That's funny.
Now you know.
That's it. That's absolutely it. So yeah, all in all, I was pretty happy with the layout as far as what I could get. They had me across from the V1 Tech guys, which I feel like I felt so bad for a couple of them because again, this aisle wasn't as busy, so some of them were just on their phones, looking rather complacent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's poison. You don't want to do that. Don't be that guy.
No, but they're in a different, when you're working for a company like V1, they get a lot of hired help. Sometimes they got the managers out there, but those guys also do like a ridiculous amount of shows per year. I think they're just as ready to be done with the season as I was. But let's talk about, before I get into the really good stuff, let's talk about the challenge. And the challenge this year was the dock. This is me standing on the
whoa. That's a big operation. Holy smokes.
So these are all vehicles waiting to turn the corner down here. This is the corner by the highway that then goes down to where the docks are.
Oh, wow.
This actually wasn't that bad. But the challenge was at this intersection. This is an off-ramp from the highway here that comes out where this little white car is. And this is also coming down the back of the convention center. That's also an off-ramp from a different direction. So this is a really busy intersection. This is technically the right of way. It's only a two-way stop at this intersection. So because everyone had to use the turning lane to bypass all this traffic, it was a very dangerous intersection. There may or may not have been an apology issued by GalaxyCon that may or may not have flagged the rental security that was supposed to be mitigating a lot of these challenges as the issue. I'm not getting to the details of that because I'm not sure if they did or did not send that to everybody. It may not have even happened. I'm just saying allegedly because I don't know who's going to watch this. But this was one of those situations where learning, if you're a vendor, if you're an artist that can get away with pushing 1 or 2 cartloads of stuff, as opposed to having to go wait in a dock or use a dock. All I did was I parked on the 2nd or 3rd floor in this parking garage and just walked right across the skywalk.
Wow, nice.
Bypassed all of this nonsense. This is one of those things that I don't know how many conventions spend a lot of time thinking logistics for people. There's one convention, was it HeroesCon down? Have you ever done that, Matt? HeroesCon in Charlotte?
Oh, yeah. I did it for 10, 12 years. And then after 2015, life took a massive and nasty turn. And I just has nothing to do with the show. I'm actually trying to figure out the logistics to get back because now we have family in that area. But yeah, I haven't been in many years. Last time I went was 2016. I haven't been since, but I'd love to go back. It's an awesome show.
Oh, yeah.
It's an awesome show.
It's a great show. If I remember correctly, one of the challenges, they have the same problem. Like if you show up, even if you show up early to load in,
Uh-huh.
you're going to have this massive line. Cincinnati was like this too, up until they moved to Sharonville. If you know the other ways in, just park in a parking garage and wheel across a sky bridge.
Yep.
It saves so much time.
Yep.
And usually you don't have that many more extra steps that you have to take. But yeah, Heroes, I think Heroes was the worst down in Charlotte. I remember guys saying that it took them 3 hours to get through that line. I couldn't tell you how long this line was.
Yikes.
So with
Cincinnati was
Heroes,
close.
Heroes is the same as Baltimore in the sense that if you want to bypass all that crap, it just comes down to what hotel you're staying in.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are catwalks and sky bridges that connect all those facilities. And if you know where to go and what time to go, as in what time the doors unlock and nobody's looking, you can just
Yeah, and just go. Yeah. What's up,
Yeah.
Mantlebeard? What's
Yo!
going on, bud?
Mantlebeard, what's up, dude?
Mantle, did we meet at a show?
Yeah,
Forgive me for not
Baltimore.
knowing the handle.
You met him at Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay, so you know Mantlebeard.
Yeah.
big up to Baltimore.
He's part of my studio.
Excellent. Welcome, Mantle. Welcome. So yeah, a lot of the conversation around the challenges with the shows. Number one was this, which I didn't really have a problem with because I plan on using the Sky Bridge anyways. But then the other being was the GalaxyCon isn't the cheapest show. So Artist Alley tables, like I was saying before, I believe are $400 a piece. And I want to say that my booth here, I think that was around $1,000. And I made the decision early on that I'm going to reinvest every possible dollar I possibly could into display just so I could be more of a spectacle.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps. But it's funny because of all this that I've got going on, it's what's on the table that sells the most.
Yeah.
It's silly.
What's up, Kev?
What's up, Kev? What's going on? We got a crew going on in here. If you guys are hanging out in the chat, feel free to hit that like button, please. It definitely helps out. So the good stuff though, because all in all, I love GalaxyCon. It's always, just a good quality show, regardless of what city I do. Is that this feels very much like a holiday special. There's lots of artists that, we go different ways through the year. So I'm just going to go through here real quick. Some of the people that I got some selfies with, if you saw them on Instagram. This is buddy Tristan Thompson. We met at Lexington Comic-Con a couple years ago, and he's just been a really good dude. He actually did some connecting covers for me for Slaughter Dolls.
Nice. Very
good dude. He's done a lot of stuff for like Zenoscope, that sort of thing. That is not a person. Those are some commissions I did.
It's okay to show off your work.
We'll come back. We'll come back to those. I'm staying thematically with what we're talking about. Actually, this one was a lot of fun to do. The Belle Delphine as Gwen, Spider Gwen.
Nice.
And then we'll come back to the Xenomorph.
She's still alive.
Yeah, Mikkel.
She's still alive.
Mikkel's still alive. She's doing great. This was
no, Belle Delphine.
Oh, is she? I don't know. I think
yes, she's still alive.
She might have ran out of bath water. I think she was still selling that last I heard.
She threw the baby out with it, huh?
Yeah, gross. But yeah, Mikkel's also a really cool artist. I think I met her at Cleveland Fan Expo a couple years ago. She's got some really amazing art. She does some really cool, like, stylistic realism.
Nice.
So definitely check her out. She goes by it's a Geisha Ninja.
Cool.
Tomato. My buddy Andrew, he goes by Chroma.
Nice.
This is like, as far as setups go, this is really smart how he does this. You kind of know, like, if you like his style, you instantly see what his style looks like. At that point, it's just, do you have the character that I like?
Yeah.
And then he'll point right to it, and then people buy it. It's a really smart setup. Really dig it.
Nice.
But yeah, he definitely knows his video games. We probably spent I don't. You guys know how it is. I've done this with both of you. Like you're on your way to go do something, you see someone you haven't seen in a while, and you end up talking for 30 minutes. You're like, crap. We got 5 minutes before the show starts.
Yeah.
We were talking video games for quite a while. So
nice.
Great to see him. This is Kevin the Bearded Artist, and I can't remember his buddy's name that's been helping him. Sorry, dude. But Kevin is also a phenomenal artist. He's got the super realistic pencil drawings. He's actually getting into doing tattooing down in the Cincinnati area. So if you haven't followed him, follow Bearded Artist 513. And again, it's like he's got the very uniform style. He does a lot of stuff where he'll draw the characters, but leave the background's white. And he just asks him, hey, do you have this character? We'll get it for you. So very smart setup.
Yeah.
My buddy Kivas. Have you guys met Twisted Wire?
I have not. No.
I have not.
He was one of the first buddies I made doing conventions back when I was still trying to plug the before I went full time. We'll say that. Ended up with a booth next to him at actually Columbus, back when it was Wizard World.
Oh my God.
And was it Columbus Wizard World? I feel like it was. That show was not good. Wizard World had some good shows. Columbus was a pretty rough one, but Kivas was a really cool dude. And just really funny. We ended up hitting it off, and he and I whether it's his wife or his mom that's helping him, we'll always stop over, hang out, sometimes grab dinner, that sort of thing. But he's got some really cool stuff, and not pictured. It's a little bit off to the right. He's starting to do the thing where he has a little stand that'll put the a comic book in, and he'll have the character from that comic book that he's done in wire in front of it. Super cool.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, so definitely check out Twisted Wire art. It's my buddy Ben. We got Ben in the chat. Rigo Creations. This dude, I met him maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. He was doing like wood cutting with lasers back then. And he's changed direction with his operation in a very short order. Is doing amazing.
Oh, I know
stuff.
Ben.
Yeah, you know Ben. You met Ben.
I don't only know Ben. I will be hitting him up for merch.
Oh yeah, that dude. He's very professional. He knows what he's doing, and he actually makes some flasks and stuff for me too. I've got some of my designs on his table.
Nice.
We got a little deal worked out, but he actually brings a laser to the show.
Yep.
And
I can confirm that Baltimore this year. I was like, yeah, I'll put you to the test, and I gave him a doozy. And he not only did he come through, I cannot imagine anybody. There's no way it could have possibly looked better.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I knew as soon as I had it in my hand, I was like, when Patchwork is ready for merch, I call Ben. That's it. That's it.
The dude's on it, man. He can do custom stuff on the spot. Like there was one time we were talking about trying different characters and stuff. His gal wanted one of my characters, so I literally texted him the image, and about half an hour later she comes over. He's like, check it out, this is what I got. Super cool.
Nice.
Cool. So yeah, and very excited to see he's gone from 0 to 60 in about a year's time. Like,
yeah,
his wood stuff that he was doing early on was cool, but like he's really found a niche with.
Yeah, he's on another level now.
Dude, his sense of humor and what he puts on like a lot of these flasks and stuff. I mean,
oh, it's great.
Dude, it's stuff I didn't even know. He knows like the inside jokes of just about every fandom, and he's got a flask for it.
That's funny.
So super cool guy, super nice. Him and his whole crew, like very, very nice people. Good old Greg. I'm probably gonna butcher his last name. Krivak. He's got some amazing art. He's one of those guys that, like, again, if I'm just walking through, we haven't seen each other in a while, and we'll stop and we'll talk for 40 minutes, just talking notes, talking shows, just talking stuff that's going on. I talk about that 3-piece connecting. Check out these AT-ATs and these ATS or AT-ATs, some people call them. If you call them AT-ATs, you're wrong. You're just wrong.
Nice.
And I can explain why.
Oh,
First off,
there we go.
Are any of you currently in the wrong? Are any of you currently calling them AT-ATs?
No. That would be weird.
Yeah, Matt, you calling them
Uh-huh.
AT-ATs? You
No,
calling
I've never done anything wrong before. It's crazy.
Perfect. I like that. Good answer.
Yeah.
So if,
Especially not on the internet.
yeah, right.
That's probably a lie, but all right.
So if these are called AT-ATs and these are called AT-STs, well, then that would be AT-AT and this would be an AT-ST.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. So if you're calling them AT-ATs, you're wrong. Get out of here.
Nice.
This isn't the podcast for you.
Get out of here. Hit the like button before you leave.
I had no idea it was so elitist. Right on.
Okay. This one I might need decoded for me. I call them AT-8. AT-8?
Okay.
AT? I might be, maybe I'm mispronouncing it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Cav's got it on lockdown, though. At any rate, it's all made up. It's all fancy. It was a long time ago. Galaxy far away. It could be anything. But Greg's got some really cool stuff, and he and I compare notes from time to time just on like setup and display and stuff. So cool dude. Old Jamie and his wife. I'm so sorry I don't know her name. This is okay. This is moment of truth on the internet. This is the challenge I run into.
Oh my God. He doesn't know Jamie. He doesn't know the AT-AT.
I know.
What else are we going to have to tell this guy?
I know Jamie. I don't know his name. Here's the problem is that like if you're the artist, you got your name everywhere, right? It's on the business card. It's in the program.
Yeah.
You usually don't list your wife's name unless she's also the artist. And I'm at the point now where I talk to them every show, and I'll talk to them for quite a while. But I've gone too far, and I don't know how to like go back and be like, hey, what's your wife's name? See, I had the opposite point of you, Matt, because I knew AJ long before I met you. I don't think I even met you that first show because you were busy.
Well, I try to stay busy, and this is how I get away with not having a big spectacle table. I market the shit out of stuff like a month in advance before a show so that I line up an ungodly amount of commission work. And then that way at the show, I have everything done except like one or two to be picked up. And then I'll make sure I'm working on it at the show so that gets the ball rolling. People see the work being done. They know you're open for work. Suddenly now I have a crazy list. And then that one big piece I work on in between. So I stay busy. I've learned that if I'm not really busy at a show, I'm typically miserable. And that's not good for the car ride home.
No, and the audience can read it too. If you don't have a good vibe, people.
You don't want to be the down in the dumps guy at a show. You want to be the good guy at your table, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to fake it. It's hard to fake it.
Yeah.
And Kev, no sweat, buddy. I make bad attempts at jokes all the time. Text doesn't always translate well on the internet. It's all good, especially when we're using letters like AT-AT and AT-ST. But Jamie, super cool dude. He's got like, if you look at his originals, he has probably the cleanest ink work, line work that I've seen at a show. It's hard to tell with all the color that goes into, like, he's got a very colorful booth, but if you look at his originals, his inks are spot on. So
nice.
Super cool dude, super nice, very down to earth. And then this is what I did while I was not busy. I did some work for Black Kitty, just doing some more works, doing some Copics, working on some of the leathery latex vibes.
Rock on, bro.
And then last but not least, we got Chris here, Chris Kiefer with Loft 817. I've known Chris for a couple years now, I think. And again, like as far as booth setups go, like he's got one of those, his booth has a vibe. He does these like rustic looking like pages. These are all like Monster Hunter journals that he puts together with these different inserts with different,
oh, that's neat. That's pretty cool.
Stuff. That is cool.
So he's one of those guys that like, because he's got such a uniform look when people show up to the booth, it's like, well, I got these 3 from you last year. What else you got? Cool. I want those too. It's such a super simple idea as far as like having a uniform look,
Mhm.
and then people just add on. Oh man,
It's good to cultivate a buying audience with a consistent brand, consistent, whatever you can market as merch, as long as you're putting out variations on it.
Yeah,
So it's good to do that,
yeah. Well, and the cool thing is that he's got these monster journals here too, and all this leather work. He actually binds these books with leather himself.
That's
So
cool.
it's a cool way that you could take like just a standard issue hardcover book and then add value to it. Super simple way to do it. So typically I don't advertise that I do commissions at shows, and I'll go back and show some of these. Mainly because if a show's busy enough, I don't want to be sitting there drawing. My thought process is I want to be standing up, I want to be talking to people, pulling prints for people. If my head's down drawing, I'm not making the easy money, which is prints.
Yeah.
So I had one of my repeat backers for Kickstarter. He came by and he had actually chatted me up on one of the different posts about favorite Batman villains, and one of my favorites is Scarecrow.
Hey,
So
all right.
he wanted me to do like my version of a Scarecrow. So I wanted to have this very creepy vibe of like he's in the middle of like inducing a nightmare kind of thing.
Yeah.
So some of the imagery, like he doesn't necessarily carry chains around in the comics all the time by any means, but
Yeah, but I love the contour. Like you're following the rib cage pretty consistently. I like that a lot.
Well, I also wanted it to look like it's his rib cage. It could be his rib cage, but it could also be part of the clothing, maybe. I just wanted it to have a very surreal feel to it. And I find that when I go very crosshatch heavy, it gives those uneasy vibes of what exactly am I looking at here? And then
sweet, man.
Couple things I also kind of worked in. I didn't tell him this, but I'll tell you guys because you guys are here and you guys are my best friends here on the internet.
Oh,
Not you, the audience.
oh.
I kind of worked in a very subtle Batman logo. Very subtle.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
That also kind of turns into a scary face with the the rib cage. So again, it's like a lot of subtle things coming at you all into one sort of image.
Nice, man.
Had a lot of fun with this one. A lot of fun with this one, but probably tied for most fun. Then was there's a gentleman that another regular, we'll say, that wanted me to do, I guess, part of the Xenomorph lore. You guys might know more about this than I do.
Nope.
Is that apparently when the facehuggers latch onto different animals, they'll take on traits of those animals?
Oh,
yeah. It's a physiological response. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, never watched Alien. So he asked me to do my own blend, like pick an animal trait and blend it with Xenomorph. And for whatever reason, my mind instantly went, I want to do something aquatic. And I was thinking about how they have the creepy legs. I'm like, well, what if we did something with the most legs in the water? And that's the octopus. I was thinking maybe squid, but octopus just was like, seemed like the best fit for a Xenomorph.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
So that was a lot of fun. Putting some real like heavy brush work in here, but then also doing some ink wash in the background so you get some depth in there. That was fun. And then last but not least, spoiler alert, is Belle Delphine as Spider-Gwen. That came up during a live sale at Clan McDonald's. Some buddy Jay, I don't know if he's in the chat here tonight, but he had brought it up during that live sale. And then finally got to meet him again. I haven't seen this guy in a long time. We did a break battle or something like that, where we each get Pokemon expansion card packs, and then you break them open, and whoever has the highest hit points wins.
That's cool.
So that was a lot of fun. So I got to see him again, see his family and all that good stuff. And this was a lot of fun to work on. A little bit different than what I normally do as far as commissions at shows. It's usually more scary stuff. But yeah, GalaxyCon all the way around. Good, solid, fun. I
So
got
you're-
food poisoning Thursday night though. So that sucked.
Ooh. Yikes. That's not
Yeah,
good. That is, yeah. Eesh.
it
So-
was
Go ahead.
really bad.
Yeah. Where did you go, or do you not want to say? Was it
well-
some sort of sushi place?
No, it was a brewery that I've gone to before with my sister, and their food, well, their beer is always good, but the food was always good until this time.
Yeah,
It-
that's not good.
It was
It's amazing, except when it's not.
yeah, then it's really wrong. So here's the deal: they had a brisket special, brisket on a bed of mashed potatoes with some like crispy onion straws, and some kind of like garlic something aioli. I'm like, okay, whatever.
No, that's an instant no for me. Any kind of, I'm allergic to mayonnaise anyway, so like, no.
Well, I'm not sure if it was the aioli or if it was the meat itself. But that first bite, I took a bite, and there's a little bit of a tang to it. I'm like, that must be the aioli. And I'm like, that's not exactly what I'm used to, but
Yeah.
we all have a normalcy bias. Like, this must be how it's supposed to be.
Right.
I got maybe of a third of the way into the plate, and I thought I was going to puke at the table.
Oof.
It was just bad. And I'm like trying to stay cool. And my sister at one point, she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Not really.
Oh God.
Not really."
That sucks, dude.
So I tossed and turned Thursday night. So Friday, I woke up at like 5 a.m, and fortunately, I didn't have any of the gory details that you would normally expect. But like,
That's good.
it was definitely not a good time. So yeah, I was compensating with a lot of caffeine all weekend.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
Yeah.
sometimes when I overdose on caffeine, for whatever reason, whether accidentally or intentionally, I do my best work. It's kind of crazy.
you know, it's there's a balance. I find that it doesn't work right away, but if I've been doing it for a while, this isn't a sponsor by any means. This stuff actually helps quite a bit. This On It,
Oh, I've taken that before. Yeah.
there's people that swear if they take one, like they instantly it's like taking Adderall or something. But no, it's like for me, if I take it for a few days in a row, I don't get as much of the compulsive ADHD stuff that I get. Where I'll be sitting here and be like, man, I'm supposed to do the dishes. I got to go do the dishes. And I just go do dishes, or it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I haven't, trimmed my hair in a while. I actually need to trim my hair. I can feel every follicle on my head. I need to go shave my head. And I'll literally just be in the middle of drawing something. And like, I need to go shave my head. It's a
That's
problem. I'm telling you, dude, I was never diagnosed with ADHD, but I guarantee I have it. Guarantee.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So I feel like caffeine to a certain point helps, but this stuff, and this is by no means
It's gonna get weird for a second. There we go.
Yeah, talk to your doctor before taking any supplements, but this stuff seems to help. But I have to take it for a few days in a row.
Yeah.
There we go.
That stuff's a little pricey. That's why I don't do it anymore. But
Yeah, it's not cheap.
yeah, it's not. It's definitely not.
No. And I don't think it's as powerful as what some people say.
Yeah. No, I know some people. It's like "Wah," they pretend like whatever, they promote it that way. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It takes a couple days for it to be like, oh, okay, I'm feeling like focused today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big one being like if I have pages to do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, because I'm going to be home in the studio for the next couple weeks until I'm on the road again. I have a lot to get done.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we're getting back on this. We're going to start taking it every day. And I've already gotten a lot done just today.
I just use coffee and trauma. That's all you need.
That's the base
That's all you
coat.
need.
That's the base coat.
Yeah. That's all you need, man.
Yeah. That's the base coat. From there, it's I've noticed that that stuff helps. And then also I've been doing. I just ordered some more because I ran out. The mushroom coffee. Have you guys had the mushroom coffee?
Oh, I have not.
There's a little bit of that in the office, and it's a little earthy for my taste.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's earthy. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
There's a brand. I think it's called like 10 mushrooms or something like that.
Okay.
And they intend for it to be used like an instant coffee, where you heat up some water and then you stir it in.
Yeah.
I just add some of that straight to some regular coffee. And it's not as noticeable. It has more of a creamy taste than an earthy taste. It still has a little bit of a taste.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
We're on the move.
Are we getting the house tour?
No, I'm starting to get a lot of text messages. The person I'm working with on this other book is on the other side of the planet. So this is my day is coming to an end. His day is just starting. So I'm just going to kind of change venues a little bit and probably tap out a little bit early. So I apologize, but the game never ends, and neither does the work. And it's not just my deadline; it's his deadline and their deadline and all the deadlines.
All
so
good,
I kind of got to piece out a little bit.
All good. You taking off?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I don't even know what time it is. I just know that the amount of text messages and emails coming through right now are telling me it's time to bounce.
All good, brother. Well, thanks for hanging out.
Later, Matt.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. All right?
Peace,
be
bro.
good. If you can't, be good at it.
You got it. See you, bro.
Nice.
Bye-bye.
Cav says, I love hunting my own shrooms.
There was I worked with a guy back in the day that he was a big shroom hunter. He would do that like darn near every weekend during, I think it was the fall.
Oh wow.
Was the big one. I would just be paranoid of getting the wrong shroom.
Yeah,
you know,
tripping the next day.
Or instantly, or dead.
Or poisoned in the hospital. Yeah,
that's sort of a wild game of roulette there, right? Like,
yeah.
One day you just, you and your tribe, you're out there and someone's like, dude, try this. You're like, oh, that's pretty good. It's got a nice mealy taste. You're like, okay, we're going to eat these now, throw it in the basket with the berries and the roots, right? And then one day, the dude comes, just like, bro, you got to try this mushroom. It's wild. And you sit down and you're like, bro, I'm seeing all the colors, man. It's crazy, right? But you're out there trying to find more of these and you're dead.
Yep. Yeah.
Just like that.
Yep.
So here's your rule of thumb for your next mushroom hunting adventure.
There you go. Spring for morels, fall for chanterelles.
Are those both edible and good?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I see a lot of the videos of people making pretend steak out of mushrooms, which I find interesting.
Yeah, well, and there's places that will do the portobello burgers, where instead of the burger patty, they'll put a big.
Yeah.
I've
had that once. It was all right.
I don't mind. I know some people have a hard time with the texture on mushrooms. I enjoy them now. I didn't used to a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mushroom coffee and the Onnit. That's been my if I'm doing any supplements. Other than I've been doing a lot of zinc lately. Zinc and D3. Just dealing with the cons.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
I'll help you bounce back a bit.
Knock on wood. I haven't been sick this season at all.
That's awesome.
A couple rough sneezes here and there, but that's it.
Yeah.
But so I got one other topic for the evening. I don't know how much you're sticking around. And I don't know if anyone in the chat has any commentary on this, but let's see if I can bring it up again. There has been a lot of talk this last week or two. And now, granted, there's been a fair amount of talk anyways. Get out of here. In regards to all the drone sightings and alien sightings.
Oh, yeah. I just heard about that. I was just reading about that probably an hour ago.
Yeah. Let's see here. This is just a generic thing I've had on. Come on. My computer's crapping out on me. Oh, maybe. Let's see if I can do a little screen share here. So, yeah, the amount of sightings that are happening lately, especially of drones, has got people talking. So what have you heard about it?
Not really a ton. they are investigating it, and that they even had there's been some sightings by somewhere where Trump does something, and some other ones, and yeah, I don't know, it's getting interesting.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot over towards New Jersey in particular
Yeah.
that they're seeing a lot of, they're calling them sometimes car-sized drones, that sort of thing. I don't know the specific details, but this was the random article that came up in Reddit, was that this was one of the sightings, was this X-shaped bottom of a drone or craft. And then if you go back in the oldie times, ye oldie days, they have these big X-shaped Xbox logos shooting lightning bolts out of the sky. What do you think, man? Is this the alien invasion? Is this what, is this the end?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they've been prepping us for this without really prepping us.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean, it's been a lot of talk lately. I mean, Congress has met over it, about how the government has been hiding, UFOs from them, and having actual interviews with aliens, et cetera, supposedly. A lot of classified stuff becoming unclassified. And I don't know. There's a conspiracy theory on the internet that there's this thing called Project Bluebeam. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, Bluebeam. Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs, but the holograph thing.
So basically, it's how they use holographs to scare us into conforming into whatever government policies that they want to put in place, or use it as a distraction. So there's that potential too. I'm 50-50 because I have not had anything ever, supernatural or otherwise, happen to me ever in my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
So it's really tough for me. Like I'm super skeptical, but at the same time, like I am a believer, but I'm super, super skeptical. So unless it's like one of those things, like, and everything that you see, it's tough because everything you see, everything's blurry, or but some things can be explained by camera tricks, and now we have AI.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, now it's almost more skeptical if you get a clear version of something, because it's like, well, AI made that.
Right. I mean, I just watched a video the other day, like literally, like it looked realistic. Was ice cream turning into puppies? I'm like, wow, that was crazy to watch. Yeah, little chocolate ice cream balls, and then all of a sudden they morph into puppies. It's like, what did I just witness?
Yeah. It's wild. It is like hallucinating what AI is doing. I think Cav is asking the right question here, though. Should you be able to shoot a drone if it flies over your property?
I think so, yeah.
I think if it's one of those ones we're talking about, New Jersey, that's the size of a car, maybe you don't want to.
Yeah.
Who knows what it's shooting back?
Right.
But if it's one of those little, like, what do they call those? The Mavics. That like is civilian use, you could buy at Best Buy.
Yeah.
I treat it like a home invader, right? Like there's a certain point where if you're motioning it for it to leave and it's either advancing on you or antagonizing. In Ohio, it's like, well, you got Castle Doctrine or whatever, like, cool. There it goes.
Yep. Shoot her down. Bye.
Mantle just needs a little bit more time to finish the comic before he gets body snatched.
Nice.
There you go. Puts it in perspective, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So growing up, where we're at in the Northeast Ohio area, we're very close to a Lockheed Martin base.
Oh, okay.
Not only that, we also have the Ravenna Arsenal. I'm saying all the keywords that are getting me instantly watch listed. But we would see stuff from time to time, around 2-3 in the morning, especially. That's when most people have already gone off to bed and the drunks are back home or in the drunk tank. Stuff that it's really hard to explain, like fiery stuff in the sky, like 3 lights on something flying around. And most of the time we chalk it up to, well, that's Lockheed flying something around.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
There was one a couple years ago. It was a couple years ago that there was this formation of 4 things flying really high up in the sky. It's probably 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, and it was barely visible. These tiny little lights on them, and at first it kind of looked like it might be a drone,
Yeah.
but it looked way too high to be. Like, it looked like it was up there. But I'm talking to someone on the phone. I'm like, it looks really weird. The way they're kind of hovering around up there almost looks like, how seagulls can kind of float in space, just kind of ride the current of the air.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, each one of these things kicks on an orange fiery ball of light and then takes off and disappears.
That's crazy, man.
And I'm like, don't know what that was about.
That's crazy.
Well, guess what? A couple weeks later in the news, they're talking about this new, what do they call that? Unmanned flight vehicles, or technically a drone, but bigger than a drone.
Okay.
That was spotted leaving an air base, and it looked just like the thing that I saw, and it was right above where Lockheed would be.
Ah.
And I'm like, so what are the chances that I saw the secret project thing flying around?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things anymore. It's like, I don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's stuff out there, like real, extraterrestrials, or what do they call when it was actually something that lived on Earth at a different time, or extra dimensional, or whatever. I'm sure that stuff exists.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm led to believe that the vast majority of what we've seen and experienced has been man-made.
Yes. Yeah.
Plain and simple.
That's where I'm at too. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, until there's proof otherwise, that is like solid, foundational, like insane, like, oh, I can't even believe this is real, but it really is real. Proof.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll change my mind on that.
Yeah, well, and it's a timing thing too. Is why would we have this amount of stuff happening right now, especially with Congress coming out and talking about it.
Right.
I don't know. That's all very strange. But Cav gives us some good, solid legal advice on the drone situation. Says he went to jail for shooting a drone. Still qualifies as aircraft. Oh, well, it does because it's was it FC? Is it FCC? Is that the FAA?
FAA, yeah, maybe.
I think that's the one.
Yeah.
FCC is if you say the bad words on TV. FAA is there you go. Yeah, allegedly, like if you're flying one of these drones, they're all tagged, and you'll get like warnings that you're in the wrong airspace and stuff. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're flying low enough that you're not in like federal airspace, if you're in someone's, backyard looking through their window, I typically don't have to worry about like Cessnas doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, FAA. Perfect. So, I don't know. So, I don't know. The whole alien thing, man, that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I want to believe. Believe you me, I kind of want to believe. But I also feel that, like, if they really are out there and then they're coming all the way out here, for what purpose would they be coming out here for, right?
I mean, it could be any number of things.
I mean, what would be the reason? I mean, think about it, right? What would be the reason that we would want to go and seek out aliens, right?
To liberate them with freedom, so we can take their oil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So, unless they really are some sort of higher dimensional beings that no longer have need for war or whatever, and they want to spread their technology, I severely doubt that that's the case.
Yeah.
Then it could be a bad thing too.
Yeah, I think there was, I forget who the guy was. I was listening to a podcast. His whole thing is he kind of laughs off all the alien talk.
Mm-hmm.
He says that around the same time that we were making a push for NASA as a country and pushing for space exploration and all this, he said they were simultaneously starting something that they were calling Space Wars or Star Wars, which was a Nixon thing, I believe. Nixon?
Yes. Yeah, I think it
or
was
Reagan.
Yeah, Nixon.
Somebody who said
yeah, it was
Star Wars.
One of those two.
But
Yep.
even prior to that, they were looking for a financial way to move money so that they could get stuff up in space so we could dominate that area. Because we knew that as soon as someone takes over that, like,
Yeah.
warfare's on a whole different level.
Yep.
And I forget what podcast. It would be really cool if I remembered all this. But he said pretty much every major sighting, including like the Phoenix Lights, that those were all our government's stuff up there.
Oh wow.
Which is crazy. It's wild. And
Phoenix Lights was big.
Yeah, and there's allegedly points where like they could throw stuff up at some of these craft and hit them with like rocks and stuff.
Yikes!
And he said, "Yeah, that was definitely one of our craft." And I don't know how that guy's still alive, if that's the case. That he could just run around telling people that it's U.S. government stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah. What do we got in the chat here? So yes, thank God for Cav. Cav is our fact checker of the evening. It was Reagan that did the Star Wars thing.
Cav's a smart guy.
And then yes, with all of the space stuff, the Star Wars was the Russian missiles, making sure that we could defend against them. But the explanation that this guy gave was that it wasn't just the missiles. That was more or less the catalyst to get the ball rolling. That we needed to be able to defend ourselves. It was so we could absolutely dominate that space and take on everything.
Yeah.
And the host of that show even said, "So are you saying that like 99% of what we see is man-made?" And he said more than 99% of what we see is man-made. And I'm like,
wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I've never heard someone. I need to go back and like see who it was that said this, but I've never heard someone with so much conviction be like, "No, this is all ours." Absolutely 100% of it.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that's a speculation now. I don't know if you saw that with the drones over Jersey. They're talking that that is Iran using China-made drones, I think was the last I heard.
Huh. Okay.
I feel like there's really a push to get Iran in some deep water. Whether it's Iran doing it or we're accusing Iran of doing it. It's like, can we not have another war?
I would rather not have any more wars at all. But I know we're like it's so funny, dude, that we're like such a technically advanced species, but we still depend on things like war to do, whatever selfish baloney that we want to do. Yeah, it's just
doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it's mind-boggling.
No. To the point where like I was having this conversation with somebody else, and it's a bit aggravating because you look at the fact that since what was it, like the 70s or 80s, we've had enough nuclear power to effectively destroy the world how many times over?
Yeah. Right.
It's like at what point did we take the keys away from dad? Like, hey dude, you're a danger to yourself and those around you. Like we shouldn't have, I don't know, the amount of stories you hear about people almost going nuclear.
Yeah.
Because a radar pinged the wrong way.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Like maybe, maybe if these things are from another planet, maybe they're the only thing keeping us from absolutely destroying ourselves.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or unless you watch Dan to Dan, then they believe that it's the spirits on Earth that are protecting us from the aliens.
There's a lot of talk about what these things are and what's going on. And I did have a dream that explained everything.
Interesting.
Now, this was 15 years ago, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
You want to hear it? You want to hear it?
Sure. I got a little bit. I got a few more minutes.
So, we'll just say that this came during a time in my life where, I'd grown up very conservative Baptist, and I had done a lot of soul searching and like, what's really going on. So I was exploring like counterpoints from atheists. I was looking at other religions and like I did a lot of meditating, like what is actually going on here.
Mhm.
And then I had one night a dream, and I will regale you in the chat. You will all be cued in on this, and you can steal this idea, put it in a book, and sell it.
Cam's a writer, he'll do it.
Well, I've sat down and I started writing this several times, and it's like I don't know. Dreams are weird. Dreams are like your brain's doing all kinds of stuff. It's trying to figure out problems, but at the same time, it could also just be entertaining itself. When I woke up, the feeling I had was that I was shown something. So pretty much the way it boils down is it's all cinematic. I'm not physically there. I am more like a camera floating around seeing things, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is an assembly going on in something the size of like a stadium where they have a stage set up down below, and there's a podium with someone wearing military like dress uniform, like a general or an admiral or something, that walks out, and he addresses the crowd and says, "Hey, you know, it's there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on lately, and we're in regards to, you know, UFOs and sightings and this, that, the other. Yeah, we're kind of at the point where we can't hide what's going on anymore, and we can't dance around this anymore. It's time that we have disclosure and we talk about what's been going on." And he had alluded to the fact that they've known, they being someone called it like the deep state, but like the deepest, darkest parts of our intelligence community have known for a long time that that the aliens that are around us, they do exist. The craft are real. But it goes much deeper than that, that they, what some would call aliens, some people would call gods, angels, and demons. And pretty much that they have lived in like a truly, when you talk about communism being that everyone's supposed to be on the same playing field and everyone's supposed to look out for each other, like a true utopian version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not what we do as humans, where like one person's the king or dictator and everybody else is communist in the mud. Is that all of these different creatures and beings work together in harmony, but they wanted to know what would happen if they were allowed to have their own possessions, have their own things, and it wasn't strictly a society. And they consulted the one that they consider the most powerful, and he said that's what most religions would claim to be their god, is the one that's at the top of the food chain.
Mm-hmm.
That is still benevolent, that still looks out, but the way that he looks out, I'd say he, but whatever term he used in the dream, I can't remember, is the way that they look out is by allowing them to experiment. And by doing so, he said, we're going to set up a separate area to run this experiment. We're going to come together and we're going to create this environment for this experiment to happen in. And the way it was explained was like in Genesis, when it says on the first day, you know, it created the, was it the heavens and the earth, or created light, whatever the order was. It's been a minute, but the way it was explained was when a king speaks something, it doesn't just happen. Something has to make it happen. Subjects have to go out and make it. So when you look at the components of life with atoms and structure and everything, it's much the same as when you give artists a bunch of tools. You can give me and you pencils and pens and paint and clay that are all made of the basic things, but we're going to create very different things.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have ants, you can have squids, you can have deer, and you can have people that are all made of the same components, but made by different artists, which are these different species of these different creatures. So on the different days, there were different species that were working to make these things come together. And pretty much said that right off the rip, they knew that the experiment wasn't going to work. It was already falling apart, but the great one, the one at the top, allowed the other species to have their opportunities to try to nudge things back on course, which is when you get these different religions and these different gods and these different visions and these spirit journeys and everything else. It's all these different entities and spirits trying to nudge things back on course. And that's when he said, but they're at the point now where they've realized that this is a failed experiment and there's nothing that they can do to course correct. it's a failed experiment and they're not happy with how it's gone.
Yeesh.
And that was the end of the dream. And there was a sign that I will keep anonymous, but there was a sign at the end of the dream that told me that this was the answer I was looking for.
Interesting.
And I woke up in my house, which there's usually some kind of background noise.
Yeah.
There's usually like, something humming or running. And I woke up to dead silence. And
Very
I'm like,
strange. Interesting.
and I'm like, I feel like I was just shown something, but I don't know what to do with this information. Pretty creepy.
Hello, kiddo. All
Is it
right.
that
Well,
time?
yep. It's that time for me.
Well, you can think about everything I just told you.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
for hanging out with you, buddy.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You got it.
I have a lot to think about tonight now. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great night, buddy. We'll see you.
All right. Peace out, bro.
So yeah, that was my explanation to everything dream that I had years and years ago. It actually was kind of depressing when I had it because, like I said, I woke up kind of depressed. Like, wow, yeah, we haven't done very good things with what we've got. It's also kind of depressing too because it was like, if it is true, and this is an experiment to see what we do with our possessions. Number one, I think it makes a lot of sense. But number two, it's like at that time, I didn't have a lot. I tried to be an artist back then. I failed. I went back to work for the company I was at previously as a driver. And I didn't have enough money to live on my own. I actually ended up moving back in with my dad. I had to move into the basement. And it was kind of a humiliating time. And it was like if we're getting judged on what we do with possessions we have, and I don't have much of anything, what am I supposed to do? So it's one of those things that as a mindset moving forward, I try to keep in mind that if there's times where I can help somebody, if I have the thing that they need and I'm an ability to help them, then I should help them. That's really all I can do with this information. And even if that wasn't a divine dream, if that was just my brain trying to figure things out on its own, I think that's about as good as I can do with what I've got. What do you guys think? Did I have too much pizza that night? Maybe stomach was doing weird things with the dreams, or was that maybe a divine enlightening? I'll tell you though, I didn't tell people for a while after that, just because around that time, you guys remember, I think it's still going on, that show Ancient Aliens. It wasn't long after that Ancient Aliens had kicked off, and this whole thing about like aliens being gods and stuff was starting to become a thing. And I'm like, God, people are going to think I'm a psycho if I start saying this to anybody. But I was like, now, later on in life, I'm like, I'm already weird. It's all right if I have a weird dream. That's actually kind of nice in a way. So that's where I'm at with it. It's actually, in a way, it kind of made a lot of sense because it's like all of the things that people believe are all kind of tied into the same thing. Doesn't mean that everybody's right about what they believe, because I think a lot of people twist their religions and worldviews to suit their needs, and not just their needs, but their desires. I feel like religion's been used for a lot of negative things over the years, still being used for negative things. But at the end of the day, I think that golden rule that so many of them have in regards to, treat your friend and your neighbor and your fellow human being as though you'd want to be treated. I think that's one of the best things that you can do. So, not to get all preachy at the end of an episode, but if you haven't thought about that kind of stuff, if you put it off, maybe find some quiet time this holiday season amongst all the rustling and bustling and hustling, and sit down and reflect on what's important to you. What do you need to do? And what direction do you need to head? So, guys, it's been real great hanging out and chatting tonight. Had a lot to go over. Had a lot of fun. especially chatting with Matt and James. But thank you for hanging out. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit that on the way out. I'm going to call it a night. It's been great hanging out. We'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.